Hey everyone, it is Chris Grant from the Generic Review Guys, and with me as always is Alexi Lakedog Beavich. How you going?
I'm not bad, Chris Grant. Welcome back.
You too, my friend, and as people may have thought we died, we have in fact not died. We've just had a bit of a break from the Generic Review Guys, and we're back with another review, which is going to be one of my favourite games as a young child, which was Banjo Tooie.
Chris, Banjo-Kazooie has some really iconic characters that make it what it is, and obviously they're Banjo and Kazooie. There are some other characters in the series, particularly the second one, which include Tootie, his sister, Mumbo Jumbo, Gruntilda, Humba Wumba, Jamjuz, who is Bottle's brother, and Bottles, obviously. Now, do you have any memories of any of the characters in particular, or a favourite character?
Well, I think one of my favourite characters would have to be either Jamjuz or Kazooie, when they have that sort of fiery rivalry the whole time where they're joking about each other and give each other a bit of lip. What about you? What are some of your favourite characters and why?
Well, obviously my favourite character is Banjo, because he's a PIMP. And Mumbo Jumbo, I've got some fond memories of him from both games. I seem to remember him not being that intelligent. That could just be me. And what makes the character so interesting is that in a game where the characters can't actually speak, you still got a lot of personality and storyline behind each of them.
The story with Banjo-Kazooie is largely based upon the fact that Banjo and Kazooie are trying to defeat evil, which is Gruntilda, and that really brings the whole story together because the whole time most of the characters are Gruntilda's sort of sidekicks on each level, and with that it makes it really interesting when they're communicating through noises and they've got just subtitles over the top. It's still really engaging. Yeah,
and it's engaging not just for a child audience, as was intended, I assume, because, I mean, look at us, we're 19, 20, we're still playing this thing, so it shows it stood up against the test of time because it was a well-written, well-developed game. Chris, some of the most iconic things about this game are the levels, that being Spiral Mountain, the overworld, which is the whole island. It's called the Island of Hags, and within that are a whole bunch of levels: Mayhem Temple, Glitter Gulch Mine, Witchy World, Jolly Roger's Lagoon, Pterodactyl Land, which was my personal favourite, Grunty Industries, Hailfire Peaks, Cloud Cuckoo Land, and Cauldron Keep, which is the final level, obviously. Now, do you have a favourite level or a favourite memory from a level that you'd like to talk about?
Some of my favourite levels in Banjo Tooie would definitely be Jolly Roger's Lagoon and Witchy World. And one of my favourite memories in Witchy World was driving the UFO craft to try and go through all the rings to get the highest score. That was really challenging. Even when I was younger to play, I really remember that was a fun memory.
Chris, the beauty of this game coming to Xbox Live Arcade a couple years ago is that we can compare it to the original. And that's my favourite thing to do. Back when Banjo Tooie came out, we didn't have a lot of selection of quality games. I mean, the games that were quality were great, but the playability, I mean, you can't compare it to Xbox 360 nowadays. A, the controller's just messed up, and B, the engine just doesn't run as smooth as, say, you know, a Nintendo 64 to an Xbox. But the transition of Banjo Tooie from the N64 to the Xbox was really smooth, and they really did a good job of it.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that, and I think that playing it on an Xbox 360 and the fact that you can play it in high definition now, it changed the experience to a better, and it doesn't lose the nostalgia for me. It was still all there, and it was still just as enjoyable as playing on the Nintendo 64.
Yeah, I find with remakes like this, when you're playing it on the 360, you're playing what you remember the game as. Even if you actually compare them, it looks a lot better and a lot different. In your head, you remember it better than what it actually was, so they really bridge that gap. So you're playing what you remember rather than a new experience.
And I'd hardly call it a remake because it just feels basically like the same thing. It just feels like they've just almost like digitally enhanced it and they haven't changed it much at all.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think you could call it a remake. It's more of a shift and a slight change of controls, which make it easier to play. Chris, as you know, the best thing about any game is its achievement list. And Banjo Tooie got that when it came to the 360. Now, it's only 200 gamer score, which is the old style of arcade games. But there's one achievement that I just love, and and it's called Hatch the Future, which is when Banjo and Kazooie separate for the first time, which they didn't do in Banjo-Kazooie. And I actually remember doing that for the first time in Banjo Tooie. It was an innovation that changed the game. I mean, you could be Kazooie on her own. It was insane.
I'll give this game a 10 out of 10. My first one on the generic review, guys, as this game was my favourite game from childhood and still is the same playing as an adult. What's your review, Lector?
Well, for once, I'm not going to agree with you, Chris Grant. I'm only going to give her a 7 out of 10. I know normally we give them 8s.
Why is that?
Banjo-Kazooie, the original, was always my game, and it still is. And I prefer it over this one, to be honest. And I'm going to compare them, and I don't even care. That's why. I'm Lector from the Generic Review, guys. And this has been another Generic Review.
And thanks for talking over the top of me, you dickhead. This is my Mumbo impression. Mumbo-da-bo. Mumbo-da-bo.
This is my Banjo precision. Oh-ho! And this is